Hello, it's me again, Sharon. Last week I sent you all a message on Facebook asking whether you had any questions. I was a little bit taken aback by all the questions. I didn't expect so many. So I'm going to start working my way through all of them, or as many as I can. I've got them all here mixed up. I've written them all down and I'm going to take them out at random. This is a question anonymous. What was your first cake and cupcake? To answer something like that, my first cake, I have to go back a long time. The very first cake I made on my own, I was 10. My mother had just had my baby brother. I was really happy to have a new baby brother. So I made a cake on my own and took it up to my mum's. And I remember everybody was very proud that I was only 10 years old and I made the first cake. So that was the first cake I made. Cupcakes are a relatively new concept. Probably the first cupcake I made was probably about 8 years ago. Before that, they were all called fairy cakes. And the very first cupcake I actually made, which is still on our menu, is the banoffee cupcake, which you will be seeing me make on another occasion. Another question from Cheryl. If you were to expand, which direction would you take? I'd actually love to expand. I feel my shop is very small at the moment. I'd like to have a bigger shop. My dream, my ultimate dream, is to have a place where we can have tables and chairs and we can sit down. I'll keep dreaming and I'll keep working on that. The next question is from Janella, and she asks me, where did you learn to make cakes? I started very young making cakes at home. All my family made cakes. So I learned from my sisters actually, and that's where I learned. I've never had any formal lessons or anything like that. So it's all been a lot of experience, a lot of years, a lot of trial, a lot of error, a lot of mistakes, a lot of burnt cakes. And that's where I am now. I loved it. I've been passionate about it. So I did it a lot. Next question. Ooh. What has been your biggest issue with a client? Interesting question. I don't actually like to think of clients as being difficult. Everybody has their particular personality, their particular character. Sometimes we get clients who are a little bit more fussy about what they want. Others are more easygoing. I can't think of anybody in particular that made, but I mean, some people just want us to read their mind. So we try as far as possible to do what they're telling us. They bring us pictures, we have a look. They're all welcomed. So you've all been wonderful up to now. Next question. This is from Marianne. She says, I've heard you don't bake anymore. Do you miss it? The fact of the matter is I've baked a lot over many years and I don't miss it. And I'll give you a very simple reason. I have two passions, baking and business. And my passion for business is actually bigger than my passion for baking. So I'm actually doing now what I love, running the business and overseeing everything that I do. So I don't miss it. I'm still here watching the baking all the time, and that keeps the interest alive. Next one. Has anyone ever tried to copy your ideas or bring you down? It's very difficult. I mean, copy ideas, there's a lot of cakes around on the internet and everywhere. There is an unspoken rule that if you can change 5 things, you can almost make it your own. People have copied us. I don't get offended with it. I feel flattered that they do, that we feel that we are good enough to be copied. Bring us down, not that I'm aware of. I don't know if I'm being naive. Up to now, I've been very pleased with the feedback that I get from people, and I don't really get hate mail or anything like that. Next one. This is from Pat, and she says, did you ever think the business would get this big? It's a funny question for me. I don't consider the business big, but I guess if you consider that I started on my own and now obviously I have 10 people working for me, it is bigger, definitely. It happened step by step. It happened slowly. It grew organically. If I had been told in 5 years' time, you're going to have 10 employees, I would have been probably laughed at that person in their face because it would have sounded impossible. But as it's happened slowly. It happened little by little. So it's just sort of grown on me. I'm used to it, I guess. Next one. This is from Christine. How many cupcakes do you do in a day? We do a lot. Not only the shop that we have our counter on the counter, we sell a lot for delivery as well. We do a lot of orders as well on a daily basis, corporate orders, which raises the numbers. I'd say on average 2,000 a week, might even be more. It varies. End of the month, we always get more. Fridays we do more, but I'd say about 2,000 a week roughly. This is from Katie, and she's asked, do you do gluten-free and how do you make them rise? Yes, we do gluten-free. Make them rise. Like with everything with cakes, getting the right recipe is very important. And the right ingredients. Gluten-free flour can be very temperamental. So you have to make sure that you've got a good quality flour. Depends on the recipe, but every recipe requires that you whisk in as much air as possible. And that's what happens with the gluten-free cakes. They tend to burn quite easily, and that's why sometimes the temperature is not right. So they rise and fall very quickly. So have a look and try different recipes. There's a lot of them around. But until you get the right one, just keep on trying. What is the biggest disaster you have ever had? I can't say I've had many disasters, but I've had one very big, which still upsets me to this day when I start thinking about it, and I start getting very upset. I was delivering a wedding cake at the top of the rock. The car had to reverse on one instance to let a bus pass. The car went into the side ditch and collapsed. A 3-tier cake collapsed. I cried like I've never cried before. I took it to the venue. The caterers were there. They calmed me down. They gave me a kitchen and they said, right, you've got 3 hours to rebuild it. In 3 hours, I did it again on adrenaline purely. When you're making wedding cakes, you always make spares. I had spare flowers. I had some spare cakes as well. So that is possibly the worst biggest disaster we've ever had. This is from Genevieve. This is quite funny, actually. Do you do all the cakes and cupcakes yourself? And if you do, when do you sleep? I've got a team behind me where everybody does, they have their job role. I have a couple of people doing cupcakes. I've got 3 or 4 people doing cakes as well. It would be impossible, the volume we do now. I wouldn't sleep, that's for sure. It's delegated, it's divided by a team. You don't have to worry, I do sleep. Last question. Have you ever received an order and thought, oh no? Obviously, there are orders that we enjoy doing more than others. So sometimes a customer comes and wants something with so many things that we think it's actually not going to look very nice. So we try and sort of sway them. I don't like sporty cakes, they're usually not very nice. I like pretty cakes, but in general, so long as it's not too elaborate and has too much, I'm happy to do them. Okay, that's enough for today. I received a lot of questions. I'll be answering the rest another time. If you've got any other questions that you'd like to ask, or any questions based on the ones I've answered, please let me know. Please write in. I'll obviously try and answer them again. So thank you very much.